Hello, everyone. Woo! Yeah. We're going to pack so much community into this panel. Welcome to Putting Community in VGM Orchestras. Woo! You know what? Yeah. Well, since we have, like, a crowd, let's ask, like, where everyone, what orchestra, like, we repping today? Yeah? Who you repping?
I'm the conductor of Reno Video Game Symphony.
Yay, okay, yeah. Nevada, all right. And then are you part of one?
I'm not actually part of one, but I know several because there's like 3 in the Maryland.
So like enthusiast, yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect, okay. Anyone else want to like let us know what VGM orchestra you're a part of? No? You were mentioning Norfolk, right? Norwalk, I'm sorry. Norwalk.
Question, when you all start, do you mind if we record this for Mag TV?
Yeah, that's fine.
You don't mind?
Yeah, let me know when they get started. I can redo my intro.
Now it's good.
All right. We're going to pack so much community into this panel. Woo, yeah. We're putting community in video game orchestras. All right, thanks for coming out tonight. I am Amanda Kavanaugh, and with me is...
Connor Worth.
Awesome.
Yes, we know hopefully a little bit about community in video game orchestras. I know for me, involvement in the WMGSO, the Washington Metropolitan Gamer Symphony Orchestra, has made me much of the man who I am. The community, if it was not for the community of that orchestra, I probably would not be here with you today at MAGFest. The friends that I met there introduced me to this wonderful community. And to the wider video game music community, and I'm very proud of it. And Amanda is involved in several orchestras. I don't even remember them all.
Well, I get busy. It's fine. I was going to say one of the ones I do, I guess, for recordings is Virtual Video Game Orchestra. I've worked out with them a couple of times, yeah. And then some indie projects with people who are spanning across multiple video game orchestras. All right, so let's get talking. So for video game community orchestras, something that kind of gets left out a lot of the times is community, right? And it's more than just playing music. It's more than just showing up once a week to make music, especially if you want that retention, aspect of it. You're going to have people who are going to make friendships, but you can foster that. You can have people interconnected, and you'll find that with the more people connected, the more people are going to want to do the music, and then you have offshoots of groups, and they're going to events, and before you know it, you have them performing at the Belvedere lobby. It's pretty exciting. So with the community aspect, you want to be able to foster connections with other creators. Sometimes you might meet someone who's a brass specialist and can make instruments, or graphic designers, or perhaps they're a friend of someone who could perhaps perform with your community orchestra later down the line, arrange pieces, things like that. You could foster community with internal and external events. So when you're having an offshoot concert, like some orchestras do a small ensemble concert, you can invite all of your members to go, advertise that in your orchestra, do a meetup afterwards, be like, hey, we're going to go out to eat at so-and-so after the concert, ask people to kind of help close down the stage, stuff like that. Or external events. I know for a while I was pushing for everyone to meet up at a video game adjacent place like Dave & Buster's, or MAGFest has their own meetup at Arcade One in Virginia. Yeah, I'll have to let you know about that sometime. Yeah. So those are some good places to start. Communities will often come together for support. There were certain times, even when our community orchestra was in its younger days, sometimes someone would need some help. Unfortunate medical stuff happened, or someone needed a little help moving somewhere, and you can feel empowered to kind of push forward that information, like GoFundMes, medical funds, stuff like that, and just baby showers happen occasionally. That was fun. We also did promotion of member endeavors. So some groups have those offshoot groups I was telling you about. If you guys have a PR team, you can always advertise those offshoot groups, like people performing at the Belvedere, if they're going to VGM Con, MAGFest. I think people perform at Anime USA, places like that. Just in your other promotional spaces, just be open to advertising for that, or telling your group, hey, so-and-so is going to be performing. There's a group of people who are going to be there to meet up. Feel free to go by. And then finally, well, 2 other things. Let people game together. Do tabletop games, right? Like if you're a video game orchestra, gaming. Aren't there occasions that you're just like, what do you do? I've seen you game.
Yeah.
Where do we find you gaming?
On the Discord?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I've said, the community is so important to me. I'm not a very big streamer, to be honest. I don't like to stream too much, but the community that's been fostered in my orchestra, at the very least, it's just a very comfortable feeling to just be able to share those gaming memories with those friends. All the time what I've been playing through is Final Fantasy, and I'll just start being a little too active for what you should be for a turn-based RPG, and people will be like, what's Connor doing?
Yeah, no lie. Like, there would probably be 7 or 8 of us in our Discord, and we're like, heck yeah, Connor's playing Final Fantasy. Let's see which one. And then we would follow the progress, and like, someone would pop in and be like, what's Connor doing right now? Where's he at? Okay. And then like they would talk about, I don't know, tips and tricks and like things. Like you played, there was another game you played as well. What was it? It was like really old. That's not helping.
Play a lot of old
Yeah,
games.
I know. Oh my God. Okay, well, moving on from that. Finally, be open to non-performers, right? There are a couple ways you can do this. If you have a Discord, right, let friends of friends join. Like, if you have an orchestra member that has a sister, brother, friend that wants to join, let them on in. Maybe they have different roles, different channels to kind of game and play and hang out, have fun. Sometimes they join later as an admin. You never know, but keep open for that possibility, because your community doesn't just have to have musicians, right? In the grand expanse of video game universe, there's a lot you can do. Like we have artists, metal workers, gamers. Wow, that was just, yeah.
Definitely. And that's really important to build those external friend groups as well. I know coming off of, because basically coming to Orchestra was basically the first thing I did after COVID. I had been inside for 2 years, lost contact with pretty much all the friends that I had seen in person before that. And now it just seems like I'm part of multiple different friend groups, people who have no involvement in the orchestra, but through orchestra members, through those non-performers who have helped with the orchestra, through those people, I've been introduced to so many people I never would have met 2 or 3 years ago.
Awesome. Okay, well, we got some like fun pictures we're going to talk about for a bit. Yeah, I was going to say, it's hard for me to see, so I'm going to look at what we got going on here. Connor, how about you start? You want to explain a couple of them?
Sure. These are a lot of the pictures taken from my friend, and this was one of the events that we were doing where we made a lot of music, and it was a great community building experience because we basically made music for like something like 10 hours or something.
Yeah.
And at the end of it, we had spent a whole weekend, tons of music, and even though you don't talk much while you're making the music and stuff, you see some pictures of the lunch that we did. It was just such a great experience. I felt like I bonded so much deeper with a lot of the members that we have.
Someone's mom made us pupusas that weekend.
Right.
Yeah, look, expanding outward. People's parents coming in were like, your friends want food? Can I make your friends food? And we're like, yes, so-and-so's mom. We would love your food. Thank you. Yeah. And apparently there's a picture of me dabbing very poorly.
Yeah, I just included that for fun. If you blow it up, I won't, but it's very low quality.
No, it's perfect. All right, so we'll talk a little bit about, the admin-y stuff, but make sure you include them too. So inclusion beyond music, I kind of touched on it, but there are, volunteer roles in your community orchestra that you can literally have people who aren't performing step in and help with, like front of house, merch, graphic design. You can have some people do concert posters, sometimes artwork for your own Discord or Facebook group. I don't know who uses Facebook anymore. It's still, maybe one or two people still have a Facebook group, but that really does help people connect. And then if you're doing things like recordings, you can have audio engineers. It turns out there are a lot of capable audio engineers in the VGM communities that are like, heck yes, let me do stuff for your stream, let me show up to a concert, do you want to do YouTube shorts? We got you. And invite them in to your spaces. Have them hang out at a rehearsal to hear things. Invite them to a dinner out, with the rest of the group. Invite them to your Discord. And we're going to mention Discord a lot. It's actually kind of a cornerstone of our, digital hangout spaces. But I definitely have had friends that have joined the Discord and have gotten to know more WMGSO people, and then kind of joined later on. So it's always great.
And shout out to our graphic designer. She helped us a lot with making this panel look so gorgeous. So shout out.
Thank you. You're the best.
All right, we got some more pictures here, of course. This is behind the scenes of some of our concerts. So even in the concerts, high stress environment where we're, making a ton of music, 2 hours of music. There's a sound check beforehand where we're practicing everything in the span of an hour and a half. There's still a lot of time to make those connections, make that community, and you really want to delve into that. Make sure there's downtime when you do your concerts. It can't just be, work, push and drive. Make some time. I know during the intermissions, during that gap in between the sound check and the final concert, these are some of the pictures that you can see here where we're just connecting with each other. At the last concert, there was one of the dressing rooms was really popping off. I opened the door and I just heard a bunch of random sounds. It was an experience.
Is that where they had the Smash Brothers tournament?
No, that was the season before. That was even worse because at that venue, I think the sound insulation from the dressing rooms wasn't that good, so we had to constantly tell them to be quiet. Thankfully, at this other venue, the insulation between the green room and the actual main concert hall was fairly well. So yeah, another tip: if you're going to have a lot of interactions during the concert while people are backstage, make sure you find a venue that has insulated green rooms.
We also had an amiibo swap when Tears of the Kingdom came out, where we just wanted to be able to scan each other's amiibos. So there was 7 of us passing around these cards to quickly scan all the amiibos so we get all these items. That was pretty fun. And something you can do, and that Connor and I had talked about, is you can have a lobby experience before your rehearsals. Set up some chairs, maybe talk to your members about setting up a gaming area. Of course, after you have all the setup, or maybe you have a team for setup and you switch it out, but that really helps people connect before a rehearsal, especially if they can't make it out to the side events that you might be having, whether it be the arcade meetup, dinners, stuff like that. Yeah, video games before a rehearsal is really great. Yeah.
Okay. So, of course, we talked a little bit earlier about internal, external events and how those can really help build your community. We want to expand a little bit more on that. In terms of internal ones, there's things like barbecues and Cocoa Night. don't know anything about the Cocoa Night.
A Cocoa Night is like, okay, so we went to one of our members' houses. They had a fire pit, and there was probably like 30 of us. We advertised it on our membership list, and we invited people to bring their own cocoa, and then we had like crock pots of cocoa. It was really nice, honestly, to just hang out and just, even though we weren't doing music, we would still somehow talk about video game music all the time. And then someone was like, they just made a duet group together, and I was like, oh, people brought their partners, their friends, and it was really nice. Yeah.
You're probably wondering what baby meetup means. A lot of our members are, I wouldn't say old, but you know, they're of the age that they've had kids, and apparently they want their babies to socialize with each other. And so we actually sponsored a meetup of
really
all
cute.
the members' babies. You went to it. You can talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so I like sponsored the baby meetup. It was really adorable, and of course none of them knew what video game music like was, but they knew a lot of video game toys, but they just couldn't articulate it. And yeah, babies are just made of different stuff. They were like playing with one another. One of them had a cart they were pushing, and then they just like went soaring, and then they looked at the other one, and they were like, yeah, I'm fine. And I'm like, you just face planted. Why? How can you do this? I was like, I would have broken both my arms. But it was fun. A bunch of them, the parents ended up connecting with one another. Now they do play dates. So that was really nice. Yeah. They also can like swap babysitter names, because a lot of them kind of lived in the same community, and kind of work on how to problem solve childcare before or for rehearsals, which is actually something that's come up in our community orchestra. So I don't know what y'all's liability insurance looks like, but you know, in this age where both parents got to work but also want to do video game music, maybe look into some rehearsal childcare.
And that's the beauty of hosting these kind of internal events like this. They build this community so that people do it on their own time, externally. Same with the, we don't have it listed, but I'm just thinking while I'm talking here, I think the Frisbee thing started as an official thing at first, and now people just meet up whenever to just play Frisbee. I don't know, I've never
Yeah, they
been
like
to-
challenge each other on the weather. They're like, it's going to be 45 degrees. Who's doing Frisbee? And I'm just like, what? Yeah.
And then, of course, the Smash Brothers tournaments, which we've had at concerts. I don't know how they manage it.
They also stream it too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And they also do streamed ones that aren't on rehearsals and concerts. I think we have a picture of that on the next slide, but we'll wait to get to that. And then external events, of course, member-led events. After rehearsal dinners, a big part of me building a lot of friendships in the orchestras is one of the first rehearsal after COVID. There was a group that was looking for people to come to their dinners, and so they were just like, hey, you seem like an interesting guy, why don't you come along? And since then it's expanded. I think at the first dinner we had like 6 people. Now we have trouble finding room at tables at restaurants. It actually gets a little hard. But things like that, arcade meetups, I haven't been to any of those personally. Do you wanna?
Yeah, no, just they tend to be like, again, I mentioned MAGFest. Shoot it to your friend group. You're like, hey, let's meet up at this arcade. I know there was one time we all went to a pinball arcade area. Why am I saying area? A pinball business. Like, it's not an arcade. It's like really weird to describe. But yeah, just put it on a calendar. Get like, once you tell like 3 people, they're gonna tell all their friends, and then just make sure to get a head count. I think depending on the size of your group, community, maybe make sure it's explicit if people get +1s or +2s, because you don't want to be in a situation much like the dinner thing. You show up and you're like trying to tell the host that it's 14 people, but then you get a text that like, oh, so-and-so's bringing their whoever, can you get another table? And then you're split between 4 tables.
And then everybody wants separate checks.
Yeah, that one's probably the nightmare. And then it's like 11 o'clock and you're like, okay, well, thank you.
And then the jam sessions, I've been meaning to make it to them for so long. I think you've been to a couple.
Jam sessions. Okay, so we had someone in our group that like can just read VGM lead sheets. I don't know, it's magic. I can't read lead sheets. I'm not a jazz person. I'm sure there's people in here that's like, yeah, I can read that. Y'all are great. But I don't have that. But one of our members was like, I want to do, a jam session where people can just show up once every other week and just kind of play with lead sheets. And out of that actually came a concert group. It was unofficial, and then it became official, and now they meet every other Tuesday. And it's open floor, so people can kind of go in even if they're not signed up, even if they don't do jazz. And there's no instrument prerequisite. Like, you can show up one week on a trumpet and then a trombone the next week. Yeah.
And that's the beautiful thing when it comes to scheduling these community events, is that the external becomes the internal and the internal becomes the external.
Yeah,
Great.
just like kind of coordinate it, and then just, it depends how loose you want to kind of have things, right? Maybe have some documentation on like what sorts of things you'll advertise, what sorts of things you won't. Like, for some of it, for things like Cocoa Night, we wanted to have a sign-up sheet, especially if it's at someone's home, because then again, you don't want to accidentally have a rager at someone's house that they weren't prepared for, of all the VGM, nerds, and yeah.
So we got a couple more pictures to kind of expand on those social events, what those kind of look like. On the top here, I think the one on the left, the one on the farthest left is from one of the after-concert dinners. And then speaking of connecting with people outside of the orchestra and how that's important with community building as well, the other three photos on the top are from an event that we informally scheduled. There were some of the people were with the orchestra, some of the people weren't, and we just went out for Japanese in DC and then did karaoke. It was a fun time. So it's that type of thing. You want to really foster that type of community within your orchestra. Other than that, we've got the
That was DDR night.
yeah. Is it CTL that owns the?
No, they both have it, so it was Kevin and CTL.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
They co-ran it, I believe.
I don't know how they own a DDR cabinet or whatever you call those things, but they hosted I think it was official, right?
Yeah, it was an official DDR night.
Yeah, where people just came over to their houses and just did DDR. We've got another dinner right at the bottom there after one of our events, and then the Smash tournament, which was hosted at somebody's house, but it was streamed directly to our official Twitch. So
yeah, and Twitch is like a really good resource to be able to connect with your orchestra even outside of rehearsals, because people are at home. You have your people that like watching Twitch streams, and all of a sudden you're seeing a lot of the same people kind of watching these streams, and then you have a roster of people who remember what happened in the last Smash Brothers tournament, being like, oh, so-and-so won against this person last time, and then at one point we had a team of all Bens, because we have 5 of them. Yeah, so
Something
many
like
Bens.
that.
Yeah, it's really funny.
and we got even more pictures. I don't know that one.
Yeah, so I'm trying to remember the group what was there, but we have a bunch of our string players that just kind of met and wanted to play during the jam space at MAGFest. I forget if it was last year or the year before. But it was at one of the jam pods, and then the next picture, we like to do a pajama night and formal night for our dress rehearsals. Get it? Dress rehearsals. So when we have concerts back to back, we'll be like, this night's for PJs, and that's for our PJ night. And then we'll have our dress to the nines night, where you're wearing black tie. It's really fun. And then that next picture all the way is from one of our really, really early rehearsals. I was I'm so old, 8 years ago. Back when cell phone pictures were kind of really bad. We were practicing in a high school there, but yeah, a lot of us still talk to one another and have led other groups. And I think the next one's a group you hang out with, right?
Yeah, that was another group, or it was just one of those things where we were talking at one of the dinners once. One of the people that was with me there was talking about how they were going to New York to see a future funk artist perform, and I was like, future funk? I love future funk. And we it wasn't all GSO people, but like I said before, the breeding that community, what that can lead to for your members, how that can impact them is paramount.
Yeah, and speaking of community and like connecting people with stuff, that next picture where everyone looks spooky and has lightsabers, that is from Magstock, where we actually kind of made an announcement of like, hey, we're going to this outdoor convention. Shout out to Magstock. It's actually a really nice, I shouldn't say convention, like outdoor fest of music. It's just MAGFest, but outside, and then you can sometimes do cabins. And we got like a 20-person cabin. We had other people's friends in there, and then we all decided to wear cloaks and have lightsabers because we're fun like that. And then that next picture is the dressing room Smash Brothers tournament. All right, Discord. If you don't have a Discord, I highly recommend you get one. It's a great opt-in tool. So if you got some people who aren't quite wanting to be kind of plugged in 24/7, they don't have to join, but it is great for those people who want to be able to talk to other people at a more like leisurely pace. Have a lot of channels, categorize them well, trust me. Maybe have channels that aren't just siloed into like Overwatch or, you know, specific games. Have like an RPG channel, a tabletop channel, and that way you're not like breaking up the different gaming communities, but wrapping them all together so they can talk to one another. Voice channels are great. Sometimes you'll see that you have night owls and you take a look and you're like, wow, it's midnight and there's 12 people in that Discord. What are they talking about? It's chaos. You have someone arranging music, someone playing Dead by Daylight, someone's practicing an instrument because they live in a different time zone. But that's okay. Everyone can change the volumes around and be able to talk to who they want, or you break up the different voice channels to like show your members who's doing what where. You can also use them for Twitch broadcasts. There were a couple times during the pandemic where we would use them to work with another group. We would bring them in and kind of use it as a mirroring virtual recital format. So that was really cool. When you have it boosted from like the Nitro, your Discord can actually hold a lot of emojis. Let your community make their own emojis. It's actually really cool. If they have pets, Photoshop the pets and use them as those emojis. Stickers are fun. We took our section leader who can do a fun, incredulous eyebrow, and we made that a sticker, and so that's one of the reacts that'll happen in the channel. He's demonstrating it right now. And it's a good collaboration tool with other video game orchestras. Invite them to your own orchestra, and sometimes you guys can have a joint gaming night or a joint recital. So that's always fun.
So overcoming the pandemic, I already talked a lot about how much the orchestra helped me over the end of the pandemic. And the orchestra did a ton during the pandemic, after the pandemic, adapting to it. Of course, while COVID was happening, we would have virtual rehearsals where we would meet up, talk about where everybody was with the recordings, because of course we had to record what we sang or played, and then if things didn't line up or if something was a little off, because that'll throw the whole thing off, we would talk about that during the virtual rehearsal, where we just, go over it on Discord or Zoom. I'm glad we don't have to go back to it, but it worked. It worked.
Yeah, I think at one point we had our choir director on our Discord also duo streamed with like Zoom, and we had everyone kind of mute their own microphones, and we would sing along to him playing on the piano. It was actually pretty effective. And then on the orchestra side, each section leader would essentially hold a Zoom or a Discord meeting to kind of have people play their parts, coaching, things like that. And then people would turn in their recordings so we can upload them on the YouTube once we did some audio engineering. It actually kind of helped us out a lot.
And then, of course, not after the pandemic, it was still going on, but after we felt comfortable enough to actually go outside again, we would do things like hold our rehearsals outside, and we'll have some pictures about that shortly afterward. And a lot of work, you know, when we're talking about community and video game orchestras, one of the best microcosms of that was right out of COVID, where nobody had seen each other in a year and a half. And, you know, I meet a lot of these people for the first time, and yeah.
It was kind of amazing once you saw them. You were like, oh my God, it's you. And then once, like, masking kind of became less and less of a thing, it would kind of be funny and cool to see someone. Like, there was one guy, we had a double bassist, and I saw him at one of our concerts for the first time without a mask in like a year, and I looked at him, I'm like, sir, can I help you? And he was like, oh, I'm so-and-so. I was like, I see you now. I know who you are from Discord. I know you from rehearsal. Like, it was, you get to re-meet people. It's really cool. Let's head to the, oh, sorry, stream gaming on Twitch. Yeah, my bad. We already kind of talked about it, but.
All right, and then some of the pictures that we got from over the pandemic and how we worked through that. On the two pictures on the left are some of our outdoor rehearsals. It was a little tough when it rained. As you can see, people have umbrellas, it's wet on the ground.
Yeah, it was our first one back.
Yeah, it started out rough. You can see we only have one tent. Not everybody's standing under there. We started learning pretty quick and implementing more tents, lanterns for when it started to get darker.
Yeah.
And then the two on the right, I believe that's from the...
So that was our, like, first not a rehearsal. It was to kind of come back and relearn how to, not perform, but rehearse as a group. It was a reading rehearsal. We found a community area to just kind of do music, and we had guests come in as well that would record with us during the pandemic. So that was the first time we had met up for music in, like, over a year.
And then we got quite a few pictures from... when we returned. And you can see that even with the social distancing in the top middle, there was still a lot of opportunity to make that community. And of course, the pandemic's not as scary a prospect anymore, but it just goes to show how powerful having that tightly knit community can be, even through those difficult times.
So something that the orchestra had utilized is when we had a form for people to fill out before the season started, we would always be like, what cool thing can you do, resource do you have, etc. And sometimes you find out that you have metal workers or, you know, people who do certain crafts. And our brass section leader actually made us a 9-foot trombone called the Masabone. It was playable. It was made by Adam Zarantz, brass specialist by trade. Adam wanted to help create something to raise money, and Holy Wow Studios, the creator of Trombone Champ, ended up winning the auction. He also sometimes gives, well, not sometimes, but he gives really great and helpful advice when musicians have issues with their instruments. Like, more often than not, someone will be like, oh, this thing's happening to my instrument, can you take a look at it? Or, I don't know, someone like several states away will say something about a buzzing, and Adam's like, oh, it's this. So again, that's a good community resource that you can tap into. You just got to ask the questions and have people volunteer, and then remember to reach out to those people when you have a cool project.
And again, like we said earlier about connecting with other creators, I mean, this crazy trombone contraption is made, and we're selling it to the guy who made Trombone Champ. I mean,
yeah, I like climbed in his Discord, and I was like, hey, you want to see a 9-foot trombone? Like, it was a whole bidding war. It was kind of cool. And they would like post on their Twitter, they're like, we have to win this trombone. But yeah, that's a picture to just demonstrate how tall it is.
yeah, it does play.
Oh, please.
This was playing earlier.
Oh, no.
Here we go.
members actually went to New York with it to like hand it off to the trombone champ makers.
Right, and that's what we
Yeah.
have over here. There's in the bottom left, you can even see the creator of Trombone Champ almost hitting his fan with the gigantic trombone.
Yeah, it's a New York apartment. I kind of want to tweet at him and be like, where'd you end up putting it? And then there's a picture of it in my living room. It spans half of my living room. We moved things to be able to fit it in frame and take a picture of it.
Oops,
Oh, well,
my bad.
more trombone champ. So I already touched on this a little bit earlier, but community can really help people in a difficult time. We had someone who nearly died from a heart surgery, and this is their quote: "I almost died from heart surgery, and it was my friends who I met in the ensemble who took care of me." So compassion and being able to reach out to your members during a time of difficult need is something that I think you can go beyond administration, right? Human contact is something that's integral to be able to keep your community alive. So we've had people who, there would be a food sign up and we would have it in our official emails being like, so-and-so needs a meal train, let's go. And then they end up with so much food that they're like, I'm good for 3 months. And you actually help contribute to their well-being. And, mention care funds, especially in this time and place in the economy. It's helpful for people. And then beyond this, you can offer a safe space to vent frustrations or offer help. Sometimes we have people that are like, hey, I'm looking for a job because I'm tired of working at Joann's, who can help me? And all of a sudden you have like 6 people being like, let me help you with your resume. I'm gonna, talk to my manager. We have some open positions. Like, there have been multiple times where our members have ended up working with one another, or they end up going, like, they trade really cool places they can go hang out at. So keep it open, keep people talking, and allow organic community to build and give it a little push when needed.
And speaking from me personally, as a young man, it's very, very powerful to have a whole community of people older than me. Whenever I encounter something that's a first for my life, I'm kind of young, 22.
Oh my God, we're 10 years apart.
But it's great to have those people there to really give that advice and be that voice that can tell you, you're not doing anything wrong, it'll be okay, things like that.
Yeah, and it's the cross-generational thing kind of helps too, because just on a hilarious note, sometimes there are memes I don't get or sayings, and then the people who are 22 years old are like, here's the context, and I go, I'm gonna turn into dust now, thank you.
So of course, as I said before, I'm part of the Washington Metropolitan Gamer Symphony Orchestra. I say it a billion times. How could I forget it? Amanda's involved with VVGO, but there's several other orchestras as well. Earlier today, the BGSO with their flute choir was performing at the Belvedere, and
Pseudo-Widow Duo is tomorrow.
Right. Yes.
And then we have the MAGFest Community Orchestra, which I'm sure everyone knows about. But yeah, there's a lot of, feel free to take a picture of the slide. I hyperlink them for some reason. I don't know why. It's not like you guys can click on the links that we provided. But yeah, just do a Google of video game orchestra in my area, and that's how a lot of people ended up finding out about us and about all the other video game orchestras. All right, so anyone have questions? No? Okay, great. Thanks for coming by.
Thanks for coming, guys.
Yeah. All right. Have a good night.